Hey Jackson, how you doing? I hope you're doing good. Just making you this video since you weren't here today. Thought we'd do something a little different because you've been doing a really good job with Someone You Loved. Keep on working on that, obviously, because, I want to keep working on that with you. And we're getting there. We're almost done with the song, so we'll keep on working on that. But today I want to do something different, as I mentioned. I wanted to go over some more note reading and stuff that we don't typically cover. Usually in our lessons, so I feel like this would be a good opportunity to take a look at that. All right, so let's jump right in. So, oops, the iPad fell. Oh, wow, that was a good catch by me. I know you didn't see that, but good catch by me. Okay, so I have written out this piece of paper here. So let's, ignoring the top line with all the notes on it. Can we get some light in here? It's kind of dark. Anyway. Oh. There we go. There's some more lights. Okay. So, ignoring the top part, what do we have here? Okay, so I don't know how much we've ever really gone over this, but this is what music is written on. Okay, usually there's two, usually not this symbol twice, but we'll get into that in a second. So, just focusing on this part. What do you see? Well, we have 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there is this symbol here. Okay, so let's look at the lines first. These 5 lines are where notes can sit, right? We know that. Notes can be on a line, or they can be in between the lines, right? Or on a space. All right, we know this. We've seen this before. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So when you have 5 lines like this together, it is called a staff. Okay, and typically in piano, we play with, let me find an example really quick, 2 staves, and together they have this thing called a brace, and that signifies a grand staff. A grand staff goes from the highest note all the way to the lowest note, and pretty much only the piano uses this. The harp does too, kinda, and maybe the organ, I guess, but there's very few other instruments that have such a wide range as the piano. Okay, so back to just a singular staff. Well, let's talk about this. Okay, so I think we've gone over this a little bit. This is just some review. This is called a clef, right? A clef tells you what range of the piano, how high or how low we're going to be playing. All right, and for this particular clef, this is called the treble clef. It kind of looks like a fancy G, right? It's called the G clef sometimes. But that's only because this little loop always goes around the second line, which is G. So see how it kind of loops around the second line. So I don't know. It's just another piece of information that helps sometimes. Maybe that's easy for you to remember. I don't know. But the treble clef tells us that we're going to be playing from middle C up. Okay, so the lowest note we can play on a treble clef. For simplicity's sake, let's just say the lowest note we can play is this right here. This is going to be middle C right here. Obviously, or maybe not so obvious, I think we've played songs that go lower than middle C, but you can have a note, say, we can have B below middle C. We can also have A, and so on. But these are typically not as seen as much like notes lower than this because it would just be easier to write it in bass clef, which is the other symbol. The other symbol being the one that looks like this. All right, this symbol means we'll be playing from middle C lower. So middle C would be at the, oops, that's supposed to be middle C. Is that right? 4, 5, yada, yada. It's supposed to be what it looks like. Middle C would be at the top, and we go down. Okay, so ignoring these, right? What else do we know? If we know middle C is here, we also know where all the other notes are because we can always count the lines and spaces and go that many letters in the alphabet to get to whatever note we're looking for. So let's say I want to know what this note is, the note that would be in this space, this one right here. Well, if I started on C, say once again, C's right here. Remember, you can't, after every line note has to be a space note, okay? Because like you can't have 2 lines next to each other without a space in between. There has to be a space. Same thing with spaces. You can't have 2 spaces next to each other. That would just be one big space. So after every line comes a space. Okay, so then we got D. Okay, so if this is C, we're going up a letter. So like I said, this is D. We're still not there yet, so then we go one more. All right, so now this is on a line again. We're going from a space to a line. This would be E. And then so that means this one would be an F. Okay. So I'm going to skip ahead and you know, spare you the time it's going to take to do that for all of them. But I'm going to focus on just the space notes for now, because I believe we may have talked about this, but on the off chance we never mention this, now is probably a good time to go over this. So the notes of these spaces, these 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, are as follows: F, A, C, E. Now you may notice something. Those aren't just any random jumble of letters. They spell a word, and not just any word, it is the word face. And the great thing about the word face is that it rhymes with the word space. So if you see a space note, you know it's going to be one of the letters in the word face. Space, face. That's pretty good, right? So say we want to know what this note is. We could go, okay, face, right? F-A-C. So then we know what's C. We know this one's E, for example. All right, so the line note's a little bit trickier. Like we said before, this one was E. Let me write in the line notes here. So this one's going to be E, this one's going to be a G, this one's going to be B, this one's going to be D, and this one's going to be F. All right, so that doesn't say a word. There's only one vowel, you know. You can't even really pronounce it. I just tried, but didn't quite work. So what we do instead is we use something called a mnemonic device. I don't know if you've heard of these from school. Maybe remembering, what was it? My very eager mother just served us 9 pizzas, for example, to remember the planets, right? Mercury, Venus, Mars. I skipped Earth, but you know what I mean. That's kind of the idea, right? You use a sentence or a phrase to remember the letters, okay? So for this one, the very famous one, the one that I learned when I was growing up was, every good boy deserves fudge. And apparently fudge is not a well-known dessert, but it is a dessert, and it's very good. It's made out of chocolate. I'm only saying that because I had a student last week get confused when I said the word fudge because they didn't know what that was. I'm sure you've maybe eaten fudge before, but just on the off chance you've never heard of it, there you go. So you can also, if that's not as easy to remember, you can also remember this, because I believe this is true. Every good burger deserves fries. Right? You got to have fries with your burger, right? So as long as you remember one of those, then we got the line. So now the staff at the top here is one that I have written out all of the notes we have learned, except for this one. All right, so that we got D, well, sorry, that's a C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. So one can only imagine, what about the note after this, right? If this one's an F, then this one is a G. And then we start to get in the lines after the treble clef, past it, like higher than the treble clef. Then we get to this. So now this may look like middle C. Oop, you can't see it. Now this may look like middle C, but middle C is down here, remember? And if you keep counting D, C, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, this one has to be an A. And then it keeps going so on, right? So this one's going to be a B. This one's going to be a C. The higher ones on the treble clef are much more common than the lower ones on the treble clef, just because the treble clef is the easiest way to get to those high notes. Same thing with the bass clef. The really low notes on the bass clef are more common than the really high notes on the bass clef. So when you're reading Someone You Loved, you might notice these notes and where they sit. And I think it might be a good challenge for you to start seeing if you can. I mean, I know it's not technically reading it on Someone You Love because we know how to play it for the most part, but just like look through the notes, see if you can recognize or at least read what some of the letters are. I think this video is getting a little long, and I think this might be a lot of stuff we've reviewed, but here's another bonus thing. So, okay, this is all fine and good, but especially on the song Someone You Loved, there is something different. At the very beginning, right, and at the beginning of every line, we have this. Hold on, I forget exactly. Let me flash me. Oh wait, there's no. Okay, never mind. Did I not put it? Okay, at the beginning of Radioactive here. Someone You Loved would have some flats, but at the beginning of Radioactive we have this. So now this is called a key signature, and it tells us which notes are going to be sharp and flat for the entire song, or at least until it changes, because it can change throughout the song. It can change many times throughout the song if the composer wanted to do that. So what this is saying is that on this note, C, it means that every C in the song is going to be sharp. So why don't they do that? Or did I do it backwards? I did do it backwards. It's supposed to be... Oops, I'm showing my my forgetfulness here. It's supposed to be like this. F sharp always goes first. For example, since this line is F, every F is going to be F sharp. They won't do it like this, because if they did that, they'd have to draw sharps and flats for every single note on the staff. So you only do it once, right? Don't worry about this. They only do it one time. So Someone You Love, typically, if I were to write that out, I would use a key signature because there's lots of flats in that song. But for our sake, I just had us not use a key signature and just get used to reading flats as notes. Besides key signature, there's one other key component, and that is a time signature. So most of the time you will see this. 4 over a 4. It's basically a fraction, right? It's telling you that for every... okay, let me back up. So the top number tells you how many beats, or for example, if you were snapping your fingers, how many times you would snap your fingers per measure. And now this note, this number tells you which type of note is going to be what you count. Okay, you could have a bunch of eighth notes, but if you're counting half notes, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, for example. But if that's, and that would be a 2 in that example, it would be 2 for half note, like 1 over 2 is 1 half. 1 over 4 is 1 quarter, so this would be a quarter note. Say 1 over 8 would be like, you think about this as the bottom number of a fraction. If this was the bottom number of a fraction, it would be in fourths, right? Or quarters. If this is an 8, it would be in eighths, like eighth notes. So if this was an 8, then you'd be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, for example. But that's called a time signature. And the time signature always goes past the key signature. So it always goes clef, key signature, and then time signature. And then the notes start. So that's how it goes. This is kind of the basics. I want to do some review for this stuff since we haven't really talked about it in a while. But either way, I hope this video was at least a little bit helpful. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week when we can keep working on Someone You Loved, because you're doing a great job with that. Keep up the great work. And I'll see you later, dude, and have a good one. See ya.